What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So we're out in the shop today. I've got my old Kubota diesel engine, APU engine that came off of my old semi truck. Pulled this thing off in 2014. It's been sitting over here in the corner forever. I was always kind of thinking about something I could do with it. I think I finally come up with something I can use it for. It is a 2-cylinder Kubota Z482 diesel engine. This thing had a generator head mounted on it with a belt drive. And as I say, it's an APU unit. The generator head wasn't much good. It had electrical AC unit in the truck that it ran. It also wasn't much good. So it was kind of dead weight on the truck. This engine, according to the hour meter, had almost 15,000 hours on it. But it still ran good and everything. So I pulled it off, figured I could use it for something else, a different day. Welded some legs on this piece here just to hold it up, keep it from flopping over on the ground, and so it was set up good. So I did take this thing outside about 4 years ago and run it. I hooked a water hose up to right there, the inlet, and just kind of let the water flow through it, and cranked it up and let it run. The exhaust manifold has gotten broke there, so I ordered a new one of them. The one I ordered is a different style. It comes out the back, but it was like 50 bucks on eBay, so that's the reason it doesn't matter. We're doing something custom, so it don't really matter a whole lot where that comes out, I don't believe. So anyway, I think I'm going to utilize the rubber mounts on here and kind of make a better stand, a platform. And what I got in mind to do with this thing is build a diesel powered pressure washer and set it up with a large fuel tank and everything. A little bit frustrating, the Honda GX390 pressure washer that I have over there, it runs great, but when you get into trying to do something, you run out of fuel, you got to stop and all that. I want to set something up that'll run for 5, 6, 8 hours if you needed it to. And so I got to thinking about this engine over there. I've always wanted to do something with it, so decided to pull it out. I've got some stuff coming, had none of it come in yet, just ordered it, radiator and everything for it. This is a water cool engine, obviously, and so I'm going to get to building something other, some kind of stand, and kind of get this laid out as to how I want it to go, and see how long it takes to get this put together. This will be something I'm doing over the next couple of weeks or months or whatever, however long it takes, I suppose. Alright guys, so this is the progress I've made so far. I'm just kind of laying this out, kind of winging it. I've never seen one of these built like this before. This is just some square tubing and stuff that I already had on hand. It's probably a little bit overkill. That is 2x5 laid flat down on the bottom. Forks will actually go in the end of it. That wasn't really intentional. It's just kind of what I had on hand. The rest of it is 2-inch square tubing that I had on hand. Had some short pieces of that laying around from different projects. So this is what I've got mocked up so far. I would have liked the frame to be a little bit longer by about 4 inches, but I think I can make it work. And my plan is to set the engine on top of those posts right there and weld it and cut this right here off and keep this piece right here as the upper plate, since I've already got the rubber mounts and the holes drilled in it to just save some time. Set this on top of the square tubing right here and weld it, and whack the ends of it off so that I have the engine up there. And then I think the pump will mount right here. I don't have a pump yet. It's in the process of being shipped whenever I get it, so I may not weld anything until I receive that, because I need to know how I'm going to mount my pump right here, because the pump will have to slide back and forth here. So what I'm thinking I'm going to do, I've got some 3-inch channel iron over there if it'll work, that I should be able to put right here in between and make a slide or something for the pump. Or I think I got some 3-inch flat bar as well. Whatever I think that'll work best. In fact, I think I got a piece of 6-inch flat bar. That may be what I use. I think it's 6 or 8. Anyway, so I'll take a piece of that and come in here for the pump to mount on and cut notches in it, whatever, so the pump will slide back and forth. I'm having to go with a 15 3/4-inch drive pulley on the pump, which is rather large. But the reason that I'm having to do that is the pulley that they have on here. This was a Carrier APU unit, and the pulley they got on here is 8 3/4 inches. And I got on the internet and did a calculation. There's some belt calculators on there for your RPMs, pulley RPMs and everything. And that's the size that came up that is available. The next size up is 18 3/4. For whatever reason, there's a big gap in the sizes. But with a 8 3/4 drive pulley and a 15 3/4 pump pulley, that gives us a 1.8 to 1 ratio according to that pump calculator or pulley calculator that I was using on the internet there. You can remove these 5 bolts here if you have an engine that does not have this pulley, because these engines can be spec'd several different ways. A lot of them have a output shaft right here. It'll be 5 bolts. You can buy that output shaft if you want to, and you can put whatever size pulley on that output shaft that you want. But it's going to stick out further, and if you go with a smaller diameter pulley here, you can use a smaller diameter pulley on your pump, but you will probably need a double groove pulley to get the same belt surface area to keep the belt from slipping, if that makes sense. So that's also another, I looked at doing that. The time you bought the stub shaft, another pulley and stuff here, it cost extra $400. So this is already expensive enough project. Doing it the way it is, I've already ordered about $1,500 worth of parts for this. I didn't realize it was going to be that expensive whenever I first started it, but I guess it is. So anyways, that's the reason the pulley's like that. If you guys are interested in building something like that, just give you a few tips and hints. Usually 2 to 1 is what you want on this, but the pump I'm using will turn at 1750 RPM. That means the motor should be set about 3,300, and I'll probably go a little bit higher than that off a load. This engine's rated at 3,600. I have the 3-cylinder version and a welding machine over there, and I think at no load the spec on it's like 3750 and 3,600 under load or something like that. It's the exact same engine, just with a 3rd cylinder on it. It's a 722 is what they call it. But anyway, on the other end of my frame over here, this is where my burner assembly is going to go. This is going to be a hot water unit. I have a burner assembly over here. So this is my current unit that I'm using right now. It's just a Home Depot 4,000 PSI unit, DeWalt, with a Honda GX390, and I don't even remember, I think that may be a Comet pump. I don't know what kind of pump this is. Tag's gone off of it. Anyway, that's what I'm using now. This is a North Star burner. I've had this for, I don't know, 3 years or so now. And you see what I did with it. I took the wheels off of it and I built this frame here and just tack welded that on there, so that if something ever happened to it, all I got to do is take a cutoff wheel and cut the tacks, remove it off of there, touch it back, put it back on another frame or put a new one on the frame, whatever the case. I thought that was a pretty kind of, I guess, modular kind of design I came up with by doing that and built this frame. And so it's worked good for me. I just want to try something different, go with a diesel engine, put me a fuel tank on it a little bigger, and get longer run times and all that good stuff. So that's what I got in mind, is to put this on here. This is 28 inches long from here to the back, and my frame, the piece of metals, the piece of tubing that I had, the 2x5, was only 5 foot long, and the length I needed was actually like 5 foot and 4 inches. So the back of this will probably hang over about 4 inches. So right about where that's tack welded at right there is where the frame is, which would be perfectly fine. But that's what I got in mind for my setup. So I think I'm going to double check all my measurements on this and think about it for a little bit, and then I'll probably go ahead and weld this up before the pump gets here, just because I'm impatient. I think everything will work okay. There's nothing that'll be interfering with clearance down on this end, because it's just going to set the burner assembly will just set right here. I believe I got this designed out where the engine there will set here, and I believe my radiator, I can come up with some uprights here off of this on each side to hold my radiator assembly, and then I'm pretty sure that the pump will set here. I'll just have to wait on till I get the pump till I figure out my adjustment plate right there to be able to fabricate that. I think that's going to work. I'm going to be able to get up right here too well. I'm kind of work it up on there one side at a time, maybe. Line is loose right there. Should go behind. Between there. I didn't want to. That thing is covered with nasty stuff. All right, guys. Well, I got it setting up there, but it's not where it should be at. It needs to come to this side about 1 inch. You see the square tubing right here. So the engine needs to come this way about 1 inch, and the air box down there, or air cleaner, is keeping that from happening. If you see how far this side of the square tubing is up under there, as I say, the whole engine needs to go over this way about 1 inch, and it's not sitting totally square on there either. But so I guess I'm going to have to relocate this air box somewhere, which is not the end of the world, I suppose. I could probably do something else with that and maybe mount it up on top of the engine or something other. I'm not sure. Let me think on it. All right, guys, so I've thought about this for a little bit. I'm just going to have to move the air box somewhere else. I don't know where I'm going to move it to yet. I'm thinking maybe I could mount it on the top side up here somewhere and fabricate something to hold it up there and make it work that way. I was looking right here. I got this piece of tubing here cut. I could put a piece of tubing here, remove this tubing, and move it over here. That would give me room for the air box to stay where it's at, but I still got a dilemma on the back side right here. I need to put a belt guard on this some kind of way here, and I don't see any way to put a belt guard on there because of how close they have that right there. If you look, that's a framing square, and if I put the framing square down beside it, I mean, there's just no room to put any kind of guard right there. So that's kind of what I need to do, and that pipe needs to not be there anymore in order to have enough room to put a guard down through there, because the guard will have to go down and tie into the bottom of here and then come up, you know, and make a 90 here and go across. So I don't see any way to do that with that pipe being right there. All right, guys, so I've got the air box removed, flipped around up top. I'll figure out where to relocate it later. I've decided to put a third leg on right here. It's not going to hurt anything, and I'm going to leave the front part of this frame here on there for now. I was originally going to take that off, and so I was just going to cut it right here. And on the other side, I decided to leave that. The fuel filter is mounted on it. It's kind of out of the way under there, and I don't have any other better place to mount it. So I'm going to leave this section of frame on there for now. And I've got it squared up this way using the framing square on the bottom, as you see, going across the pulley. So I've got that true on each side. I've got 1.5 inches from the face of the pulley to the outside of the frame rail there. And we are going to get it level this direction as well, which I think we're pretty close. We need to come up just a touch. We'll raise our clamp up right here. Double check ourselves. And when I get this correct, which that's on the money right there, we're ready to tack it in place. And I'll tack it here and on the other side, and then I just got this sitting right here, and I'll have to take this back loose and get it positioned exactly where I want it there. I want to give myself as much room as I can to get to the oil filter here, so I'm actually going to move this over a little bit. So let me get the welder cranked up. I'm going to get me a tack started on each side there to keep that thing from moving. Alright guys, so I've got it sitting up there. I've got it welded on there on 3 sides of the tubing there. I can't get to the inside without pulling the engine off, and I'm not going to do that without having my tractor here or something to lift it up with, because that thing is quite heavy. I decided not to go ahead and put this here just because of room and stuff, and I don't think I need it, because I've got to put the radiator in here, and I'm going to have some kind of piece of metal, whether it be flat bar or channel iron or something here anyway, to hold the radiator, kind of something like this. And so I can weld that to there, and there's no real need to have this space taken up and make it harder to access the oil filter there. So I'm going to skip that. I have to wait till I get the radiator in order to fabricate my uprights that's going to hold it up, because I don't know the exact dimensions yet, and it'll have to have holes drilled in the metal and everything anyway for the bolts. So I'm going to wait on that for sure. But we got the main thing, we got the engine set up there, and it's pretty solid, if you see. I don't think that's going to be an issue. And I think this air box here, what I have in mind, I'll loosen that clamp up, but this thing ought to come over like this right here, twist around, kind of set right there on the top of that. And the new exhaust manifold I got is coming out the back, so I can kind of swap sides with them or something there across the back and make that work, I believe, without having to change any of the plumbing for the pipe right there. Piece. Loosen this up with a pair of pliers here. I think. See, that should come over there some kind of way like that. And then this box here. This box is kind of broken. Oh yeah, it needs an air filter. Probably a new air box too. Anyways, this thing is in there. It's not the best in the world. I'll sit it up from being up under the truck and sucking up the exhaust. Anyways, I should be able to fabricate some kind of bracket. Hold that up there, something like that. So that opens up this area right here to give me room to build a belt guard around here. You know, I can go down wherever I need to, come across however I need to. I'm going to cut this off right here, flush this, so this will be out of the way for the belt. Probably go ahead and whack this one off here too on the other side, because it's not needed. And we'll have plenty of room there, as I say, to start on our belt guard. Alright guys, so I'm kind of at a standstill here until I get the rest of the components in. I can't build a bracket to mount the pump on until I get the pump, because I don't know what the mounting pattern or how high the pump needs to be or any of that stuff to line up. I know the pulley, the way I've got it figured, is going to overlap kind of right here, and you know, have a little gap in between. And as I say, it's a 16-inch pulley, but I don't know how to make the bracket here for the pump until I get the pump. I know it's got a slide so that I can tension the belt and everything, but I got to wait till I get the pump to figure that out. Also, I need to get the exhaust manifold, the different style, figure out how to route that. I think I can come up off of this right here for this air cleaner mount and mount that. It needs to be mounted on the same mount that the engine is on, because that's isolated from the actual frame here. So this needs to stay mounted on the engine, so this bracket moves with the engine, so I can figure out something on that. I also got to figure out a place to mount the fuel tank. I don't know if it'll go out here over the pump or if I'll put it over the top of the engine. I think the battery is going to sit right here. I don't know exactly how much room I'll have till I get the pump on there, so just going to have to wait and get the rest of the stuff in before I can do anything else, kind of figure out where everything goes. All right, guys, so I managed to get a few parts in. I've got the new exhaust manifold here. Isn't that thing cute? So it's a little different, as I said previously, than the one that come off. The one that come off comes straight out, and this one here comes out the rear. You can see the difference there. It shouldn't matter. This was cheaper. I found it on eBay, brand new, 50 bucks. I guess it was new old stock or whatever. And the only deal is I don't have, this is a 4-bolt flange, that's a 3-bolt flange. I don't have a 3-bolt flange that'll fit it, so I'm going to have to make one, which is not the end of the world, just take a little bit of time. So if it had been the same, you know, I could simply unbolt that one and reuse that flange, but that's not the case. So let me get this thing put on here, and then I'll kind of show you my idea on the exhaust and whatnot. Alright guys, I'm in the middle of making my exhaust flange here. I took the exhaust gasket and kind of drew me out the pattern. I've got the 3 holes drilled so far. Fixing to drill the center hole with a mag drill, and then I'm going to try to cut most of this out with a bandsaw that I can to make a clean cut. If not, I may just have to cut it out with a torch and do it that way. But we'll see. The exhaust gasket hole is bigger than the actual hole in the manifold, so I just, you know, drew it out with the manifold gasket, but the hole does not actually have to be that big, I don't believe. So I'm just going to get this centered up here the best that I can. It looks pretty good to me. I need a work table. I'm going to have to redraw my line now because I'd erased it. I don't know how this is going to go. made it that far around it. There we are. We'll touch it up with a grinder, round the points off a little bit. Should be good to go. Alright guys, that beats our flange that we got made right there. As you can see, everything lines up. Now, we can come off of this flange with our muffler. And I'm unsure if I'm going to go this way with the muffler or if I'm going to go straight up and down. I would like to run it horizontal, but I'm not sure about my clearances over here. So I'm going to wait a little bit to see how I want to do this exactly. Okay, so this is the muffler I got. I picked this up at Tractor Supply. It's IH1 Stanley muffler. This is the inlet down here. I cut it off a little bit. It's just a 1-inch galvanized 90, so it'd be a sharp bend. So I'm not sure if I want to put this across the back here, kind of like this. I'm not sure what I may run into because I still got to set my burner down here. And I would need probably to divert this down or to the back or something like that. Or second option is, you know, it'll fit like that, go straight up in the air. I'll put a rain cap on it like that. So I'm not 100% sure yet. You can buy Kubota factory mufflers for this application, but they're insanely expensive, like $300–400 kind of. And this here is like a $40 muffler from Tractor Supply. So I'm gonna make that work. All right guys, I'm still working on this thing, got a little bit more done. We're gonna take a break, show you what I got going on. I've got the muffler on there. I decided to make it a horizontal muffler just because I think it will be less likely to get damaged that way. It'll be lower clearance and everything. I think my burner will clear. I got it kind of kicked out just slightly. And I think my burner that'll go right here, I think it'll clear. And if I have to, I'll put a 90 right there. I think it's going to work. And I'll probably cut this off a little shorter here. But there was another engine lifting eye right there, as you see. I welded that to the muffler. It looked like that one there. I just loosened it up, bent it down, welded it to the muffler to give some extra support. It's just a 1-inch galvanized pipe 90, and as I say, you can see how I kicked the muffler out just a little bit. And you know, that was only like $50 instead of $300. The radiator, I'm in the process of getting it fabbed up right now. This is a 3-row radiator for an Austin Rover. I've never even seen an Austin Rover. I got on eBay looking for radiators, run across these. There's a bunch of them on there. Evidently they use the same radiator from whenever they started making them up into the 90s. When they quit making that body style or whatever. Anyway, there's a bunch of them on there. They make a standard 2-row that's got a 40mm core, and this is a 3-row that's got a 70mm core, which is the width here, which makes it deeper. I wanted the deeper one because it's not a very big radiator, as you see. It was about twice as much as the standard 2-row. But if you're working on something like this, it looks like it's going to be a good fit. It's roughly about 10 something. Let me grab a tape measure over there. It's not very big. It's not much bigger than what a motorcycle would be. It's a little over 11 inches total with brackets, and then about 11 inches up and down. And as you see, it fits the fan shroud there pretty good. Just going to use some 3-inch channel because that's what I had on hand. It's way overkill really to hold the radiator up. But I got it sitting there. We got it held up with the squares and everything, getting ready to weld it in place. And so that's what I got going on right now. I don't have the plumbing for it yet, all of it. What I'm going to have to do on that is, this is a 1-inch hose coming out here. This is also 1 inch. That's one of the reasons I wanted something like this. Had a 1-inch outlet. But basically, I'm going to get a 180. I actually got the 180 in. It should come here and come back over, and then put a 90 here with a coupling. And then on the bottom, Some of these come out the other side, but this one comes out over here. As I say, this is the APU. I've got a 90 here that I'm going to put on, and then I'll tie a 1-inch hose there. This is only 3/4, but I've got a 3/4 to 1 coupling to couple that up. I do have that in stock, so we'll put that on there in a little bit. I stuck some hoses on here and ran it for a little bit. It took me a little bit. I had to get some water primed through it to get the water pump to suction. And so I got that bucket there way up high. And anyway, so I did run it for a little bit, make sure that everything still runs and everything. Alright guys, bring you around here and show you how I'm doing the lower hose. I ordered this, this is 3/4 inch silicone 180 degree bend. That thing was like 30 something bucks. I've got a piece of 1 inch and I've got a 3/4 to 1 adapter. I think that thing was like 15 bucks, and then this was like 10 bucks for this piece of hose. Anyway. It's kind of an expensive way to do it, but it looked like the easiest way without having to modify anything, kind of build fittings and weld stuff together. So I'm going to get this here, cut this hose off, get it to where to slide on there, and then I'll just simply make a loop up, and that'll be the bottom radiator hose. Alright guys, I do believe that should work. I had to trim a little bit off of this one, cut this hose to length. Got my 1 to 3/4 adapter in there. Just looked like the simplest way to do it. And the top one we're going to do a little something similar on, but I don't have all the stuff to do it yet. Alright guys, so on the top here, I've got my 180, but Postal Service lost my 90, and I don't have my 1 inch to 1 inch connector yet, but basically I'm going to trim this down somewhere in here so that it'll kind of go, it can bend over like that right there, and then I'll have a 90 coming off of here, kind of like that right there with a connector in the middle. That's what I'm hoping for, because you see I can't make that bend with this hose. It'll kink. But so that's what I'm going for. I don't know if I might could put this together just to run it for now, because it'll be like a week before I can get the other stuff. If I can come up with some kind of connector here. That's actually not horrible. It's got a little kink to it I don't like. But like I say, I got a 90 coming. Alright guys, I have got a makeshift top hose up here. I just used a piece of 1 inch that I had and a piece of 3/4 inch heater hose as a coupling there. And I got some together good enough that I think we can start it and run it for a little bit. And put a piece of reflective tape down here on the bottom of the flywheel there. That way I got a photo tachometer. We can see how many RPMs it's running there and whatnot. So let's see if we can get her started up here. Got to find the wire for the glow plug and the wire to touch to it to make her start here. Put a little glow plug on there. Alright, let's turn her over. Guys, that thing sounds awesome, doesn't it? So I've got to figure out still, I think I'm going to come off of this mount right here maybe with something other and tie this up, or maybe I'll fabricate a bracket up here some kind of way. I'm really thinking the easiest thing to do would be come up right here and put like a L on it to hold this up here somewhere. I can tell more once I get my proper upper radiator hose there, how much room I got, and kind of, I'm thinking it'll set somewhere like that right there. And then I've got a fuel tank that's going to set right here, I believe. I mean, I could put it up here, but just to keep the lower profile of the unit, I think it'd be better to set it here if I got room. It's a 10-gallon tank over here, but the pump's going to go right here. I hadn't got it in yet, and I've got the engine set at 3,400 RPMs right now with no load on it, wide open. It should, according to my belt calculator, Pulley RPM calculator on the internet I found, it should need to run about 3,200 under load to make the pump turn at the correct speed. But I'll be able to check all that whenever I get it all hooked up. But I think we got it pretty close at the moment. But I'll have to wait to get that in, get the pump in to make that. Then I'll figure out my battery is going to set here. And then I've got the fuel tank here that I ordered. This is a 10-gallon fuel cell here. Get the ports on the bottom here. And I'm thinking that it should be able to set here some kind of way over the top of this. And it may be where I can use the top of my belt guard, because I've got to build a belt guard after the pump comes in. So it may be where I can use the top of my belt guard for mounting the fuel tank as well. And then I'll have to come up with a bracket over here off of that. That's kind of what I got in mind. Something like that right there then. And that'll keep everything a fairly low profile. At least on this end. The burner is going to stick up on the other end a decent amount. That's what I got in mind. And then I'll have to put a control panel on here somewhere. I don't know, maybe I'll, I don't know where that's going to go. I mean, I could put the fuel tank on top of the engine up here like this. Turn the fuel lines around that way. I mean, that's an option as well. But if you spill any fuel, then it's going to go on top of the engine. So I'd rather have it down here somewhere. I'll just have to get some more parts in and kind of start fabbing them up and see how it works out. All right, guys. So I have received my pump and my big wagon wheel of a pulley there. And as I said previously in the video, the pulley has to be so big because this pulley down here is so big. This is almost a 9-inch pulley. If this was like a 5.5 or 6-inch pulley, then this could be a whole lot smaller. But anyway, I just got it setting up here on a block of wood, or a couple blocks of wood, so that I can get my height right and get it a mount built, get this thing squared up and everything where it's got to sit. But that's kind of what it's going to look like and everything. But I'm going to put this in a part 2 because this video is getting kind of long, and we'll get this thing squared up and a mount built and all that stuff in the next video.